10th meeting of the Traffic Safety and Parking Commission to order. And we will start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I'm going to ask Sergeant Orloff, since September 11th is a very important day in our history, and we'll never forget, to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Ting, can we have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Brown,
Present.
Commissioner French,
Present.
Commissioner Israelit,
Present.
Commissioner Johnson,
Present.
Chair Martos.
Present, thank you. And we'll move on to item 4, the approval of minutes, May 14th, approval of minutes. Interesting new format. I think
Yes.
the outline of the minutes is probably safe. Did anybody have any issues with the outline of the minutes? And the details of the minutes are in the recording, so those
Yep.
can't be wrong. People just need to watch the recording. Yep, go ahead.
Just
Commissioner
one,
Johnson.
when I was actually present, but I was remote.
Good, because that was my next question is we only had 3 that were present. So then you can vote and the other 2 have to abstain since they weren't here. Yeah,
But you mean there needs to be a record?
Yes, I think it's a correction in the record
sure.
that I was present, but I was
Okay.
remote. I don't know how that gets reflected, but
So Mr. Ting, could you take a note just to reflect in the minutes that Commissioner Johnson was present but remote? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, appreciate that. All right, so we need to approve those minutes. Commissioner Brown, Commissioner Johnson, you want to make a motion?
Yeah, I move that we approve the minutes,
I
May 14th meeting.
second.
Second, okay. And does anybody, well, I don't dissent, so we'll stay by unanimous consent. Those minutes are approved. We'll move on to the minutes of June 12th. And let's see. Were there any corrections to the outline of the minutes of June 12th? There we go.
Check.
Okay, I had none. Anybody else have any? No? Okay. And Commissioner French, you were not here, so you can abstain from voting. Can I have a motion to approve those minutes, please?
I make a motion to approve the June minutes.
Okay, second.
I'll second.
All right, very good. Anybody dissent from approving those minutes? Then we'll just go by unanimous consent. Those minutes are approved. Okay, very good. Moving along. All right. Item 5, public comments. I don't have any public comment cards. Did you? Okay. All right, so let me read this disclaimer. Very good. Thank you, Mr. Ting. So members of the public may speak on any item that's not on the agenda. Members of the public wishing to suggest an item for a future commission agenda may do so during this public comment period. The Ralph M. Brown Act, which is a state local agency open meeting law, prohibits this commission from acting on any matter that's not on the agenda. And we have a Sandra Lang. Okay, very good. So Ms. Lang, you'll have 3 minutes. If you could step up to the microphone, and we're happy to hear your comment.
Good evening, honorable commission members, and I'm going to try to, I believe this is not on the agenda, but just wanted to say that I was planning to come to the August, I think 18th meeting and couldn't be here. And so I looked back at some of the work that you've done, prior to this, but I've all along had a number of questions and concerns that I would have brought at that time. And so then also I just do want to say that I commend you actually ahead of time to see other things on the agenda about Vision Zero. But my remarks are pretty much general that I've already communicated, with everything. I've lived in Burlingame for a long time, And I think I'm going to really keep my remarks to say that the conditions of either traffic or parking or general safety, are challenging. And the best way I can put it is that really, literally, when you go out to go on any errand, for example, and I drive around a lot, and I am a senior, I'm going to say that, but you've identified already that speeding is a real issue. But I think as a safety commission, traffic safety and parking, that I'd like to see a lot more emphasis looked upon about maybe there's secondary level issues other than speeding, about parking and safety. And particularly, for example, one prime example is if you try, get out of a car and you're trying to get up onto a curb, the curbs are at various spots. That's an infrastructure question, and I've brought it up before, but I know that when you have to design public works, that there's a lot of factors that come into play. And then finally, when you're, I don't know whether this is behavior of people, but literally you can practically take your life in your hands when you drive down Burlingame Avenue and people are jumping out back and forth. And those are questions that I think I trust all of you that you'll look into it. But I think that we really kind of need to look at that. So there are two areas, and I could not agree more about behavior as being driver behavior, pedestrian behavior, all of it. But I think that our infrastructure needs to really be looked at again from a safety perspective. And I leave that up to some of the plans that you make, how you design parking spaces and allocate them perhaps. And then finally, I forgot to mention that a lot of our obstruction when you're driving is, there are a lot of big, huge cars on the corner of different quarters. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it, Ms. Blank.
Yep.
All right, any other public comments? I don't think we got any emails or anything, so we're good there.
No public comments.
Okay, very good. All right, so I'll close item 5, public comment. We'll move on to item 6, North Rollins Road Streetscape Project Update. We've seen this consultant before. Welcome back.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
All right.
Mr. Wong, do you want to lead this and
Sure.
turn it over to our consultant?
And I'm glad we had the public comment. I think you'll see some of the pedestrian improvements as part of this project that you've seen before. We have Ms. Julia Harbison, once again with CSW ST2, and she will be going over the latest since the last time you folks saw it. She'll provide the alternative. We've tweaked it quite a bit. And take it away, Ms. Harbison. Hopefully we don't have technical difficulties. We're going to try to get her to stream her presentation.
You should be able to share now.
There.
Okay.
Yes, I can do that. And
Excellent.
okay, it worked. Yay. Now, of course, I've got to get through the presentation properly.
Oh,
and let's say it's worked.
Sorry. The presentation's only on screen. There's a presentation so you guys didn't get it in advance.
Sorry.
Sorry about that.
So as Andy mentioned, I'm Julia Harbison with CSW ST2. I think I've seen all of you at a previous meeting. And I'm here to give you an update as to what we've done since we last saw each other and get some feedback on some of the concepts that we've come up with and some of our direction moving forward. So overall timeline, the last time that we saw you was after our existing assessment, and we had come up with a number of concept plans, and you provided feedback on recommendations of 2 different options being amenable to the commission here. We have held a second workshop with the community, and we're now on to interim design, which equates to approximately 65% design, and obviously presenting here to you. Now, just as a very quick summary of outreach, some of this you've seen before because I wanted to include our first meeting with our community outreach back in February. We also did a number of direct outreach to to stakeholders along the corridor and had private meetings with them, as many of them as would call us back or be willing to meet with us. And we held 6 separate virtual stakeholder meetings, or 6 meetings with separate stakeholders. And then we had a couple of follow-up meetings with others that had supplemental questions. We had our original online survey. We only had 16 respondents. Of course, we then came and I presented to you back in March, and you gave me some great feedback. We had a second virtual community meeting in May, which was a little bit better attended than our first in-person meeting. And we got some good feedback and communication there. We had a second online survey where we only had 2 respondents, which is unfortunate. Now, just a summary of what feedback we have gotten throughout this. From the online survey, we heard, preserve existing parking along the corridor, that was vehemently requested by everyone. Pedestrian crossings and sidewalks improvements along the corridor. And then there were concerns, regarding large vehicle congestion and turning movements with any improvements that we made along that corridor. And then concern about vehicle capacity by reducing a lane if we went forward with the road diet. Now, with our stakeholder outreach, and these are people who actually work along that corridor, it was also preserve existing parking, concerns regarding vehicle capacity due to reducing the lanes, and then the continuous comment of that, very few bicycles are observed along that corridor. And so just the question about the entire impetus of the project. And then, of course, the preferred concept options that this commission recommended was, option A and then a combination B and D to move forward. I did want to bring up that we are actually going to hold a 3rd community outreach event. This time, I believe we're going to be at the farmers market to get a little more broad, outreach into sort of the greater Burlingame community. And that's going to be held in October. So based on all the feedback that we got, both from community members, from survey online, and from this commission, we selected the concept that you see on your screen there, which does include a road diet, preserves parking on both sides, has the center turn lane, and has the Class 4 buffered bike lanes on either side. And this is also consistent with the bicycle and pedestrian master plan preferred concept. So that's in line with that prior outreach efforts that were done then. Now, some of how we arrived at that particular conclusion, as I was going through what the concerns that were being raised by the stakeholders and by the online survey and such, we use that as our guideline for selecting which cross-section to move forward. So, for example, vehicle capacity was a major concern, and the existing roadway has the ability to convey 36,000 vehicles per day. The actual average daily demand today is less than 10,000. So with a road diet reduction, we're only reducing the capacity down to 25,000 vehicles per day. So in that regard, we felt that the road diet was appropriate in this scenario. The concern regarding on-street parking. So in the existing condition, if the corridor were parked efficiently, and as we know, it's not currently striped for parking, it just has the sidebar. So people are not actually, taking up their 20 to 22 feet per vehicle. So they're not actually parking this efficiently, but there would be 281 stalls. With this proposed concept, we're reducing down to 264. However, we are striping each of the stalls so that there could be 100% efficiency in that parking. So this is less than I believe it's a 7 or 8% reduction in the overall parking. And then, of course, the question about bicyclists. Well, to be honest, why would you ride in a Class 3 bike lane along Rollins Road with a significant heavy traffic? You wouldn't. So what we're proposing is upgrading the Class 3 and Class 2 bike lanes that exist today to Class 4 buffered bike lanes. The other thing that we have tried to implement here is a contiguous pedestrian pathway by, either filling in gaps in the accessible ramps or sidewalk gaps. Now, I want to sort of step forward because that was the concept that was selected, but there was some feedback that we got both from the commission and from other members of the community as we were moving into intermediate design. So this is our overall plan, and I will zero in on things so you don't have to try and read this tiny little image here. It is a very long corridor. So as you can see, the green here, so this, takes us from the city limits towards Broadway. We're proposing crosswalks. So the yellow, I'll back up a little. The yellow is the two-way turn lane. The green are the class 4 bike lanes. And then you can kind of see a little bit of hatching striping. That is the buffers at the driveways and such that hem in the vehicle parking. We're proposing crosswalks at Broderick and Goddard. And then Ingold. And then moving a little farther along the corridor there, we are again proposing crosswalks at David and Edwards, and then simply restriping at Marsden. Now, the next thing that I want to show you is actually a little bit of a change from what you saw before. Originally, when we presented this to the commission, we had not included improvements between Marsden and Broadway. And largely that was to try and limit some of the impacts as we, to the businesses, as well as any queuing situations. And of course, some projects that will be coming online later. Upon further study, there was a great desire from the community to actually finish that connection, don't go 90% of the way, go the whole way. So we were able to narrow up the lanes while maintaining the parking on the south side of the roadway, which currently has parking. And there are a number of businesses there. They are right up against the street. They're auto related. And so they do use that parking. And the people that we talked to there, they were very concerned about losing their parking. So what we've been able to do here with this particular layout is, and I'll bring it over a little better, you can see the cross sections, is we still maintain 2 travel lanes in each direction to help avoid any potential queuing as a result of the road diet farther down, maintaining the existing parking on both sides of the street, and then upgrading the current class 3 bike lanes to class 2. And I'm actually going to step back as I do that a little bit. The other thing that you can see here is that we are proposing a bike box at the intersection itself to simply make that connection across Broadway for the bicyclists so they can get to the bike lanes on the other side and make the connections to the other bikeways. So that's something new that you had not seen, and I would love to hear your feedback on that at the end. Now, as I said, we had a preferred concept. But in refining that concept and developing it, we came up with 2 sort of alternatives for that preferred concept that I'm hoping to get feedback from all of you on today. What you're seeing here is alternative concept number 1, which matches what you saw in the plans and in the preferred concept that was originally selected, with the travel lane, 1 travel lane in each direction, a 2-way turn lane, bike parking, vehicle parking, bollard buffered bike lanes. And those are those green bollards that you see on California and that type of approach. Now, concept 2 is a little bit different, but still within the same scheme. But the proposal is, instead of the bollards, to utilize medians along there. Now, these would be short gap medians, approximately 10 feet in length, with a small gap between them to allow for drainage. But it would provide a vertical permanent barrier between the vehicles and the bicyclists. It does also have the added advantage that it would reduce maintenance over time due to having to replace the bollards, because they do get hit frequently. So what you see here is a rendering. This is the intersection of Rollins and David, and what that would look like with the alternative 1. You can kind of see the green bollards here. I don't know if you can see. Oh, you can kind of see my cursor here. You can see the green bollards here running along the parking spaces, as well as the striping. You can see a little bit of red curb here. There's a fire hydrant. So that's the blocked out fire. New pedestrian ramp across the street. You can also see sort of here, this is where we would be alerting vehicles coming along to pedestrian crossing ahead. So that's alternative 1. And then that same intersection, I know it didn't look like a great change, but there There is one, rather than the green bollards, what you see here are these medians. And so they would be sort of blocky as you went along. And just sort of a side by side, this is what David looks like here in the middle today. There, no crosswalk, not a place you'd want to be crossing in general. And then you've got your alternative 1 and your alternative 2. And I'd be happy to answer any questions or take any comments that you might have.
Okay, thank you very much.
Mhm.
All right, so commissioners, who wants to start with questions, comments?
I'll start if you don't.
Sure. Yeah, go ahead, please, Mr.
Um,
Commissioner Brown.
A couple of things. The two-way turn lanes,
Mhm.
um, I'm very familiar with them where I grew up a lot. We used to call them suicide lanes, actually. Because you're going both directions and you're trying to get into, turning each way. Where are they currently being used in Burlingame? Because I don't remember ever using them when I'm driving. And are they that efficient or have they been that efficient? So I'm just curious because I don't remember using them. And maybe you guys do. I just don't remember going into that middle turn lane
Yeah.
very often.
Go ahead.
Through the chair.
Yep.
They're on California right now. On the new section that's north of Oak Grove. And they're also in pockets. It's not necessarily a super long stretch, but they're on pockets south of Oak Grove as well.
I guess I just don't make that turn.
Yeah.
Going into that lane, but okay.
But to answer your question, they are deemed quite efficient
Okay.
in general. I can't speak to the efficiency here in Burlingame, but in other projects where we've implemented them, they have facilitated turn movements, particularly on corridors like this one, where there are a lot of driveways, and they're not driveways necessarily that line up.
Yeah, sure. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And by the way, these are great. This is great information. So I really appreciate that. The other question that I have is there is a rather large complex that hasn't broken ground yet across from the gym on Rollins Road. Has that parking and that structure been taken into consideration during these plans?
That one hasn't been taken into consideration. We have taken into the complex that's just finishing construction right now. And we've been talking with that particular developer who has given us some feedback as to what's going on in there. But yes, so yes and no to your answer. We didn't look at their specific plans or anything like that, but what we have done is take into consideration what would happen with, additional bodies living within that facility.
All right. Those are the only two questions that I have at this moment, but thank you.
I have a few questions.
Go ahead, Mr. Johnson.
For the folks that were engaged and gave feedback, were they primarily the local businesses there, or did you have other constituents?
It was largely the local businesses. We did have, I'm going to say we had 2 people who weren't on the corridor that came to our first event, a little bit of feedback from. Actually, one of them was very much pushing for making that last block finish to connect all the way across to the other side of Broadway. But that's part of what we're trying and hoping to get at that farmers market outreach event, is at the broader community sense of what would be happening here on Rollins. But primarily, we have been trying to get the actual users today, because we want buy-off not just for the future, but also for those who are using it now.
And for the development that is, I believe, primarily new housing on the far end, closest to the BART station. And you may not know this off the top of your head, so, and I don't remember if we addressed it. How many units are going in to that facility, to that,
Is it,
do we know?
I'm not sure.
I want to say it was somewhere around 250 or 270. She mentioned it when we had our call with her.
Yeah.
Fortunately, I don't have it off.
It's okay. But they've been involved in reviewing these plans.
Yes.
Okay.
They attended it was, I believe it was Elaine Breeze,
Yes.
the one in charge of that particular development, or at least the coordination with the city. She attended our second outreach meeting, and then we had a one-on-one meeting with her. And then she provided some further comments
Okay.
after going back to her group and getting feedback.
And the sidewalks on both sides are continuous now all the way through.
Except for one small portion, they will be.
Okay.
One portion where we cannot get the horizontal. So technically, yes, that will be continuous because we will put concrete there. It will not meet accessible code. There is not quite enough horizontal clearance with the exception. Because you have to have 32 inches clear across a small gap, and we would only have 30 in one particular, and without moving utility poles.
Got it.
So
And I think the last question I had was, I know that Vision Zero was happening at the same time this project was happening.
Mhm.
By chance, were we able to address any of the Vision Zero hotspots along this corridor that we might be able to point to as a commission and as a city that maybe we've addressed, which would be a really lovely thing. I know that Vision Zero was happening in parallel and probably couldn't inform this project, but it might be nice to do a mapping to see where we might have addressed some mobility issues with Vision Zero in this plan.
we can certainly look into that and see what we have done. Because I would be surprised if some of what was in there isn't addressed by this particular project, given the goals of Vision Zero.
Yeah.
So,
I would imagine it.
yeah, but we can certainly look at that and report back.
All right, I think those are most of my questions.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Commissioner Johnson. Commissioner Israelet, go ahead.
Questions, I just want to clarify a couple things. So the difference between alternative 1 and alternative 2, is there a big cost difference putting those the cement median strips in alternative 2 versus the bollards?
Yes, there would be a cost implication. The current ROM cost for alternative 1, this includes a grind and overlay of the pavement and striping and all the other improvements, signage and such. That ROM cost with the bollards would be approximately 2.6 million. And the ROM cost with the concrete medians is of approximately 3.8 million.
Okay, and then you said, but the cost of maintenance is less for the alternative 2.
Yes, over time, it's easier to maintain.
And then to clarify, so are they box shaped and how elevated?
It's just like a little median curb. Any turning median that you've ever seen, with the protected thing, it's just 6 inches high.
Oh.
It's 18 inches wide, with white striping on either side so that we get our full 3 feet. But it creates a nice vertical curb barrier.
And those are felt to be as safe and as visible as the bollard options.
They're safer for the bicyclists than the bollards are because they can't, to get a vehicle over a curb, they have to be going preferably in the direction. So they'd have to be going the wrong way, 90 degrees to the bicyclist to get over that and get into the bike lane versus the bollard, which you can be taking sort of at an angle and get through those bollards without too much difficulty. Visually, no, they're not quite as visible, but you would have the same impact that you would if you sort of ran into the sidewalk when you were trying to park.
Okay. And then were those, that was for the entire length of the project, not just this final block, right?
No, we would not have those on the final block. That would be
Um,
Marston to the city limits.
okay,
So Marston to the city limits is where we would be applying the road diet.
got it. Okay,
From that last block, no road diet, we maintain the 4 travel lanes.
got it. Okay.
We just have enough room to sort of shrink down the lanes a little bit and get in class 2 bike lanes.
Okay, and then my last question is, so with the pedestrian crosswalks that are being added, are any of those going to have flashing beacons that can be pedestrian activated?
Yes. At this time, we would be having them, I believe currently at all of them is the plan.
Wow, okay, because I've just been driving down Rollins more recently, and I think that's really important. Okay, great, thanks.
All right. Thank you, Commissioner Israelet. Commissioner French, anything?
So I wasn't here for the first
Mhm.
presentation, so thank you. So as a cyclist, either or choice, the green is very helpful,
Mhm.
immediately evident. But just as I look at the 2 pictures, we have this really vast, wide road with 2 lanes of traffic.
Mhm.
And now it's super busy. And so as I look down these two, the center of the yellow, my concern is you're going to have folks racing to get in the middle and overtake somebody that's going slower. So the two, what's the term for the two? You refer to it as.
Oh, yeah, that.
Two-way left turn lane?
That's.
All
What,
We
what's
used to,
the yellow?
Two-way left turn lane.
It's a two-way.
They left.
Yeah.
Is there another alternative to that?
Not to, so the reason that we couldn't perhaps put, like little median shelter zones for pedestrians or other types of things is unfortunately, there's a lot of driveways and they're not lining up. So to maintain the ability for the operations of the facilities as they are now, which we have to still offer those, but with current code, we require certain clear zones. And so for the vehicles, even to make the turns out, the best solution is to maintain it as basically an open two-way left turn lane.
And is that the same, how I said, the chamber with the convenience store that sells the lotto? Do they have those two-way turn lanes there?
Yes, you're the one on California right here off of, I think, Douglas or Bellevue.
Yeah.
Can't remember. Yes.
And are they really safe?
So through our experience, we haven't had issues with people racing them, and PD could confirm this, but also you're not supposed to, when you actually use that lane, you're not supposed to travel more than, I believe, 100 feet. Because if you're in there for longer than that and using it as a lane, it's illegal, so you could be cited. But I'll let our traffic sergeant comment on that.
Yeah, no, I concur with that. And in my experience and all the collisions that we, receive, I haven't seen collisions involving people utilizing those lanes from opposite directions or trying to overtake. That hasn't been something that we've seen a lot.
Good.
We don't have them in a lot of places in the city, so increasing that might theoretically, especially in that stretch of roadway, it's very long. Like I said, we have them on California, but not that it's not a concern of mine. I see the potential for that, but in my experience, no, that hasn't been an issue with people overtaking road diet in one lane, using that lane as a bypass. I haven't seen it that much, or even received a lot of complaints about it, to be honest. So rest assured.
Question.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Commissioner French. And I have a few questions as well. So I noticed in your diagram, you had red designations for crosswalks and blue designations for crosswalks. What was the difference there? There, yeah.
I have this.
So where there is blue, there's currently a crosswalk.
Okay,
Okay.
So there's a lot more red than there are blue, unfortunately. Right now, you would have to walk approximately a mile, I believe, from David, well, actually, no, from Edwards to get all the way to this Arden within the city of Millbrae to then cross the street to get to the other side legally, or go all the way, or just go down to Broadway and around. But currently, there's approximately a mile without a crosswalk in it.
got it. Okay. And then if you go back to the last slide that you were showing. Yep. Okay. So parking on that street, how heavily is the parking used currently on that street? Are there a lot of cars that park on there? Or?
During business hours
Yep.
day, it is, I would say, between 80 and 90% parked.
Okay.
There are some areas where the businesses are more warehouse type businesses, and maybe there's a little less parking.
Okay.
But in the areas where they're active business traffic, people are going in and out, it's 100% parked.
Okay.
And the feedback that we've gotten from a lot of the business owners or business operators that spoke with us were the ones that had max parking. And and I can also say, just from personal experience, driving up and down, I've spent a lot of time on the corridor. It is hard to find parking. I usually have to park, well away from any of the intersections and such just to find a spot.
Okay. And the reason I ask that is because that provides a buffer for the bikers,
Yeah.
having that parking. I could see if there were nobody parked there, then yeah, the bollards would be risky. People could swerve into that bike lane, run over a bollard as opposed to the concrete medians. But if that, and I'm assuming that a lot of the biking occurs in the morning hours or in the afternoon hours, people commuting to the BART station, coming back from the BART station as far as biking. Not so much at late at night. That would be probably rare, but I could see that would add more protection for the bikers because those parking spaces are heavily used in the afternoons and the mornings during business hours. So that's good. The other questions I had, so we talked about, or my colleagues brought up the high density housing that's going on down on Marston, near Marston. Is that right? That's the
No, it's on
Millbrae end?
Their end.
its other end, closer to the city limits.
What's the street at the?
It's across the street from Prime Time, right?
Yeah.
That's the additional one that's going.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
That's
Okay. Got it. Okay.
Yeah, so
By
Believe
Roderick in that area?
it's in gold, the new one that
Ingold? Okay. Okay. Got it. Okay. I'm confused where Marston is. Sorry. Oh, there it is. Okay. That's not it. Yeah. So when we have high density housing going in there, and we have it now, any accommodations that need to be made for increase in traffic entering and exiting those complexes? Was there any accommodations made in the plan for that?
well, right now, the street capacity is significantly more than it would need to be, and it can accommodate larger facilities coming in when it comes to just volume of traffic that can be handled for vehicles. Now, when you're saying where the driveway will come in and how that will work, essentially, it's been designed in such a way that that should be a fairly easy modification that can be made. It may be that obviously we'll lose a few parking spaces if it's currently an empty lot right now. And basically, the design is made so that as the potential lots are redeveloped or new development comes in, it's a simple modification to what's there. We have the codes for turning movements and that sort of thing. Driveways obviously are bigger if it's a commercial business coming in versus a residential because of the type of vehicles that will be coming in. Usually with a residential high density thing, you're looking at an Amazon truck turning in and out, or a UPS truck versus a double wide semi truck.
Right.
Is the auto related sort of vehicles that we see quite a lot along this corridor.
Okay. Okay. And you led right into my next question about delivery trucks. So can you go back to the alternatives, the last slide that you had? So what would that look like? The delivery trucks along this corridor, are they going to take up a lane? Or are they going to try and squeeze in a parking area? Or are they going to turn into a driveway of a business? How does that look?
So currently there are zones that are marked yellow for certain businesses, and we are maintaining all of the existing yellow zones, meaning that the area where the cars are currently parked gets striped with yellow, and it's a loading zone for those businesses. So we're maintaining those. There isn't a whole lot that we can do about the, usually I don't want to point fingers, but it's typically the vehicle delivery trucks. We've all seen them where they have all the trucks and everything. They will likely go to a less busy parked area, and then they'll pull into the parking space and take up multiple spots to wait for their ability to then turn into the business.
Okay.
They should not be camping out in the center turn lane. That park
Or in the travel lane.
or in the travel
They
lane.
can't block the travel lanes.
Some of them do even today. So
Sergeant. Because then you're going to have people racing in that left turn lane around them, right? And then we have a problem.
Mhm.
So, okay, but they're not allowed to really park their delivery truck in that travel lane or the center turn lane. Okay. Okay.
Mhm.
All right. Those were my questions. And then you asked for recommendations on a couple of things. So one, if you want to go to those two, I think there were two slides or two
right.
there,
So
intersections.
hoping to get feedback on was, this is brand new to the commission, and you had not seen that before. So I was hoping to get your feedback on this particular, in this particular layout. And then the second bit of feedback would be a preference of alternative 1 or 2, or
Right.
amalgamation of the two.
Right. Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. So, so, so we're going to give you an opinion about this, whether we're comfortable with it? Was there a second alternative or? No.
Really the only alternative that we
Okay,
came up with that would meet current code,
okay,
maintain the parking and upgrade the bicycle facilities along this portion.
okay. And the parking is where in this diagram?
So it is right down here.
And where does it end?
It ends right about here.
Okay. Okay. All right. So commissioners, what do you think? Somebody want to start on this one?
Chair, could I ask 2 follow-up questions?
Yeah, certainly.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
One is on it just dawned on me, the parking, currently, is there time limits on that parking at all on that street? 2 hours or
I
1 hour?
So the restrictions have to do with height of vehicles.
Okay, so there are no time limits on that street. So we don't know how long some of those cars might be parked there. They could be parked there all day.
Yes.
Okay. The second one is where the city limit hits.
Mhm.
I forgot to ask, what happens
So
when you go into Millbrae? Does it all just
so
or meld back into a big gray mass?
well, actually, kind of. Essentially, what we have to do here in the last couple 100 feet is transition back into the lane configuration that there is in Millbrae, leading it up to Adrian. I know that there've been some conversations with the city of Millbrae, but no resolution of continuing this particular particular layout.
So that sidewalk and the class 4 bike lane,
Transitions back to class 3 bike lane
class
and a
3
class
bike
2
lane.
bike lane.
And are there sidewalks on both sides?
There are all the way up to,
There,
actually from the city limits all the way up to Millbrae Avenue.
Millbrae Avenue, there are, okay, very good. So there is a bike lane and there are
Yes, but it is,
continuous sidewalks on both sides all the way to Millbrae Avenue.
yeah,
like,
but they're,
There to get to BART. Okay,
yeah, but they're class 3 bike lanes. I misspoke. I said class 2.
class
They're both class 3.
3. Okay, okay. Thank you, sorry.
No problem. Sergeant, did you want to say something about the parking restrictions? I saw you were.
Not from city limits to Marston, but I think those spots in the area that you're seeking opinions on, I think those are later in the day, prohibits parking between like 4 and 6.
Okay.
It's not a 2-hour, 4-hour zone like you were asking, but there are some prohibitions there, and I don't know.
Oh, thank you.
You wouldn't interfere with those.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, we wouldn't be interfering with that.
Okay, if you want to go back to that. Oh, sorry.
And I also
Commissioner
had
Brown, go ahead.
one follow-up question.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
But I think you sparked something about bikers maybe potentially at night. Yeah, where we're putting crosswalks in and maybe along, it's just general question. Have we considered more lighting? Because that stretch of
We
really
did
dark.
a lighting study along the corridor, and we are proposing 2 additional light poles to be placed in because there were a couple of dark spots. Actually, no, I'm sorry, it's 3 light poles to increase the lighting and visibility along the corridor and bring it to in standard. It's not currently in standard for people to be crossing the street.
Okay, thank you.
Good question. Okay, so back to the intersection. That was at Broadway, right? And Rollins? What was there a
Broadway
complementary intersection on the other side, or is this just the one intersection?
sorry.
Well, so never mind. Forget I said that. So we're going to look at this. Okay. Opinions on this or concerns about this routing of traffic and bicyclists and
I think it looks like a good solution. I don't know that there's really any other choices.
yeah.
At least you preserve parking on one side to make some people happy, and yet you've fit everything else that we need in.
And note there is not parking on the other side currently, so we aren't eliminating the parking.
Okay. Other thoughts?
I'm just glad that you decided to continue and I think as much as we can create continuity from, this is clearly one destination. People aren't jumping and going somewhere else. They need to traverse that entire stress. Yeah, you're committed. So I'm glad to see that we have a plan to take us all the way through. I don't have any other further comments.
Commissioner Brown?
No, I agree 100%. I think because this is probably where most of the traffic occurs on Rollins Road when they're making these turns onto the freeway or into Burlingame. So to be able to keep the flow, I think this probably makes the most sense as well. So.
Okay. Anything else?
One more observation is, and again, I want to go back and look at Vision Zero. I know that there's a lot of like current congestion and issues right as you enter this zone. I believe this is a hotspot, if I remember right. So I'm not sure. I don't see any changes to the crosswalk there. I don't remember what the details of that crosswalk are. I guess if we're here doing this and there's any additional pedestrian safety measures that could be looked at, again, if there, I don't know if there is an issue, but that would be just one other thing to consider as you're building this through.
Okay. I just had one comment on the right turn lane, Broadway to Rollins.
Mhm.
It's narrowed. Is it really narrowed? Is it narrowed by paint right now, or is that an improvement?
No, it's narrowed by paint.
And that's how it exists right now. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, good. Okay. I've seen this before. We've seen this before in the city. I think this is the best that you can do in an intersection like this when you want to have cars that have to turn, and bicyclists, we give them that bike box. So I think that, yeah, this is probably the best that we can do in this intersection. So, all right. And then the second question you had was bollards or concrete medians? Okay. Who wants to give an opinion on that? Who wants to start?
I will.
Commissioner Israelit, go ahead.
I think that the green bollards are the visual, having like a wall of bollards really is more noticeable to me as a driver, but you have the experience and know what actually ends up being safer. It sounds like the bollards are fairly, like 2/3 the price, but then they also have higher maintenance costs. So I really think either solution is fine. I wouldn't want to have to necessarily pick one myself without knowing this project's funded, where we stand with, like, do we need to take cost into consideration? And which alternative has be safer for cyclists? I would just go with the experts who know that. But they both seem to be acceptable and very good alternatives.
Okay. Commissioner Brown?
I have a question because I think that's a good point. I wonder if there can be a combination of the two. I wonder if you can have the visual of ballers, but maybe just not a whole line of them, but space them out so that there's a visual and you still have the safety that the concrete provides.
Through chair,
Yeah.
again, on California Drive on some of those islands, the heads, the fronts of the island
Yeah.
have a bollard, not necessarily the green bollards, but they have white bollards, but we can, at the ends where a car or someone's more likely to hit it, that we can add the vertical elements there. So that's something we can consider.
And I do apologize, I didn't quite point it out. In some areas, like right here, we actually did propose 2 bollards
Oh,
there at the end. I apologize, I skipped that. And then here at the end of this one,
Mm.
so when we have a row of parking there in particular for those vehicles, just a little visual reminder of like, hey, you're about to leave the parking area or you're about to enter a parking area.
Mm-hmm.
okay. That's big.
Yeah,
Okay.
apologize for that.
No, that's okay. They were itty bitty on your
Mhm.
photos, but I couldn't really see them.
Anything else? Commissioner French, Commissioner Johnson?
I just like the idea of the combo, and then the longer term view on, you've spent more now, but if bollards are always getting knocked down, why have a whole row of them?
Mhm.
And I have seen them, they're constantly bashed. Yeah. So I like the combo.
Mhm.
As a biker, I prefer the concrete option. I mean, if we can.
Okay, so I have a couple of thoughts. And so I like the combo. I'm not sold on the concrete rectangular median. I'm concerned about drainage. Yeah, I know there's gaps, and hopefully alleviate any puddling or water buildup there. But another thought I had, I've seen these medians that are black rubber, right? And they're
Yep.
triangular. Those, in my opinion, aesthetically are a little easier to look at than a concrete block. So that might be something to consider trade-off. I don't know how they're priced, but those seem to be pretty durable, right? I mean, concrete could get broken. And the rubber medians might be a little more durable, but that's another alternative. So I like the hybrid approach, and with the triangular rubber medians, it might channel water a little better. I don't know, but I'm a little concerned about water drainage in the wintertime with these concrete medians. So,
Well, to address that, I mean, we do have a topographic survey out there, so we've determined where all the low points are.
mhm,
And so the openings are located at not just at that particular location, but that's why we have it every 10 feet, but there will be an opening at all the low points.
yeah,
And one thing I didn't mention, because it's not necessarily something that we were asking for the commission's opinion, but you look right here, one other thing that we're doing to sort of meet some of the county's requests and requirements is we're actually implementing a small bit of bioretention along the corridor as well to help intercept some and treat some of the stormwater
okay,
within that element. It's only in one intersection, right there at Guittard. That happened to be the one that was the best, but it'll be a nice little demonstration piece along the corridor,
yeah, those are good.
how we can implement that.
Yeah, those are always good to see.
Mhm.
Okay, those are my thoughts. Any other last thoughts? Do we provide you enough information?
I think you gave me a lot of really great.
Okay.
I appreciate everyone taking the time.
It's a great project. Yes. Did a great job.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Ms. Herberston. We appreciate it. And the next phase will continue, and when might we see final designs and implementation?
So you will be seeing final designs by the end of the year.
Okay.
For our funding requirements, we need to be at that point.
Yep.
So I appreciate you working me in this month and not pushing till next month. That was going to make things difficult. And
Mr. Wong?
Sure, no, that's correct. Because we're gonna have the October event. What I was just gonna mention, public comment,
Oh,
just in case.
is there any public comment?
There's no emails.
Okay. All right. Yeah, appreciate it. Yes, Ms. Lang, no, thank you. Okay, well, we thank you very much for the presentation, and we look forward to, the final design. All righty. Very good. All right, we will move on to item 7A. Any public comments to any of the informational items? Mr. Ting, any public comment?
There are no public comments.
It's all procedural. I knew there wasn't, but I had to ask. All right, so community group updates, anything, Mr. Ting?
There are no updates.
Okay, thank you. Engineering division reports. There we go. I know we have something here, Mr. Wong.
Thank you, Chair Martez.
Yep.
Just like to add one thing, the development that's on Rollins, it's 320 units, one
Thank-
single.
Okay, thanks.
I was looked that up. Thank you. Engineering reports, just give you a couple that we have. Peninsula Corridor Multimodal Complete Streets Project. And there's a reason you haven't heard of it until now. We've been working with the city of San Mateo on a joint application to improve Peninsula from roughly Coyote Point all the way to El Camino. We'll get pedestrian improvements, bicycle improvements, and more importantly, well, not necessarily more importantly, but that roadway needs some resurfacing. So especially on the San Mateo side. So we're looking at that. Usually when we go for these grant projects, we're coming to you and asking for a letter of support. However, for this particular grant, the sponsors wanted letters of support, but they wanted it from groups outside of the city. So no one affiliated with the city. So we've got several, I couldn't tell you right now, Mr. Yang is working on it, but we've got from public officials outside of it and some of the other community groups. So, which is why you didn't get it. But when that project does come, we will be so this is ground zero, right? We'll be talking about getting public feedback from both communities. We'll have probably discussions here, presentations, so you will see it all and see all the options going forth and alternatives if they're not able to put facilities on. So that will be coming, so don't worry. Also, which isn't on here, but another grant opportunity is Old Bay Shore. And we will bring this back to you because as I realized, 2 of the commissioners have seen Old Bay Shore, the feasibility study and what we propose to do on that. The 3 others haven't, so we will get you up to speed on that with this grant opportunity. We'll bring that up at the next meeting, but roughly to improve from the Millbrae border all the way to Broadway, we have it's roughly a $24 million project to make similar improvements here, get a bicycle facility on there. So you'll see that, but yeah, we're also doing that now, and I think it's due tomorrow. So that one also didn't require support from this, but we've got plenty of support as those of you have been with this project. Councils already supported the Silicon Valley Business Association, the hotels out there, they've all supported it. So I know this next one's particular interest for our commissioners, but Barrio LA traffic calming update. So we've been working with the city of San Mateo, and it's been a little longer process, but we're trying to work on with both our processes. Like San Mateo sends out a survey for when they do traffic calming, and then they just implement. Here, we obviously come through this commission, so we're going to do a little bit of both. Right now, we were waiting for additional counts. Back earlier this year, actually, we had a community meeting, and at the meeting, we were only looking at a section of Barrio LA, and additional neighbors came out from from El Camino West. We were doing Occidental West on Barrio LA. Neighbors came out, and they were concerned about having improvements on their section too. So, but we hadn't done counts at that section. Those weren't the folks that contacted us. So we went through more data collection. We finally got that data collection. So we will be moving forward with going out to surveys at some point. Once we get the results of the surveys, we'll come back to the commission, let you know. Roughly, I believe it's 2/3 supporting of the people responding, supporting the improvements. I believe the improvements they were looking at were speed cushions along there. So we will bring that back, and we'll go through this process and just make it transparent for both agencies. Last one, the El Camino Real Renewal Project, just to let you know, at the October 16th California Transportation Commission meeting, they're going to be, and it's just more procedural, but they'll be allocating the funds that have already been set aside for the project. So Caltrans is asking for the money now to start it. So after that, that opens up to when construction may start. But just to let you know, both agencies, and there are 3 agencies, but 2 agencies are pushing hard for this one. Obviously, Caltrans, more importantly, city, and the other partner, we're just trying to move along, which is PG&E. So that's what happens. And last thing not on there, but we can talk about it after, is the Brown Act training. What times work best? I'll just throw it out there. If you want to have it after hours for work, we can do that, or we can schedule during the day. Again, pairing up. We can't have more than 3 commissioners attend one, but just to pop that in here, we could talk about it later. That's
Okay.
the engineer's report.
Okay, any questions on the engineer's report? Nope. Commissioner French already.
I did have one comment, correction, suggestion, because I lived on Barrelay. It's not Barrio Lay, it's Barrelay. It's French.
Oh.
Oh. Okay.
Worked here for 17 years and I've never known how to.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, in Nebraska, we have a town that should be called Beatrice, but everyone pronounces it Beatrice.
Beatrice.
So there you go.
Okay, that thing where I grew up, I heard about this town Wilkes-Barre all the time, and it's actually Wilkes -Barre with a accent. It's Wilkes-Barre, but it's Wilkes-Barre. There you go.
That's funny.
So, Mr. Wong, timelines on some of these, Peninsula Corridor and Burial A, are we going to see Burial A next month or the month after? Or?
I think we're gonna wait till the surveys hit. and
Okay,
Report that back to you. So I'm kind of waiting on San Mateo. They know they're kind of in the driver's position on that one. They need to figure out what the limits are and then show where their proposed speed cushions are gonna go when they send out the survey.
Okay.
Folks have an idea. Peninsula, again, we're just, both this and the Old Bay Shore, we're just submitting the grant. I'll see, because this one also, we're working with San Mateo. Actually, they're putting in the application, we're supporting it with our information. So hopefully we'll get that one, since you have no idea what that one is, we'll get you that as soon as we can. But potentially Old Bay Shore might be coming to you next month.
okay,
We've had control over that one.
okay. And grant decisions are usually,
This is done at council level, or the council's aware of these because they've been on some
Yeah.
things, they're aware of it. And it's just, we haven't asked for a particular design on this one. We're just trying to get the funds to work on this section of street.
Right.
What are-
well, when do they decide on the funds? So you're providing
Oh.
grant application. And so
I'll let-
how, does it take them a month, 3 months?
I think it's at least a month.
Okay,
So I'll get that on there.
okay.
Sorry about
All
that.
right. So no, that's fine. Okay, sounds good.
Mr. Wong, do we have any updates on two past engineering reports, the Bellevue right turn only project and then the Hillside calming? Any new updates as to when those might come?
I will check.
Future agenda item?
No, there'll be future. They're being laid out, designed out right now.
Ah, okay.
All right. Sergeant Orloff, thank you for your patience. I think
Always.
we're on to you with police department reports.
Sure, I see on the agenda that July and August are both listed. Is the expectation to go over the July report as well? Just for August?
July and August.
Okay.
Yeah.
Going back to July, there were 13 total collisions to report. As always, hit and run collisions, caused by DUI were filtered out and don't appear in the report. July, vehicles involved with, there were 8 collisions with another motor vehicle. 3 were with a fixed or other object. 1 collision did involve a pedestrian, and 1 collision did involve a bicyclist. Out of all the collisions, 2 resulted in major injuries, one of which was later determined to be fatal, and 7 resulted in minor injuries. The most common primary collision factors for these collisions were right-of-way, unsafe speed, and unsafe turning movements. The vehicle versus pedestrian in 1629 was a situation where the driver was driving south on Cabrillo, the early morning hours, and attempted to turn left or east onto Hillside. There was a pedestrian that was walking north on Cabrillo in the eastern crosswalk, and it just entered the intersection with the green light. The driver, unfortunately, when making the turning movement onto eastbound Hillside, did not see the pedestrian who had just stepped into the crosswalk because the sun had been in his eyes at that time of day, and collided with the pedestrian, resulting in major injuries to the pedestrian. 1663 was a vehicle versus another vehicle. A vehicle was traveling south on Rollins Road behind another vehicle, approximately 250 feet north of the intersection with Dwight Road, so in the southern Rollins Road portion. There was a vehicle that proceeded to exit a driveway from a residence on Rollins Road, which caused vehicle 2 to stop. However, V1 vehicle behind that did not react in time, resulting in a rear end collision, causing minor injury to the driver. Case 250-1679 was a vehicle into an apartment building. A driver was driving west on Murchison, which was, where is he? It was Murchison and Ogden in that area, and experienced a momentary loss of consciousness due to some unrelated medical. Regained it, but didn't have the wherewithal or the ability to apply the brakes in time, and accidentally applied the gas pedal, entering into the apartment building. The building sustained damage, the driver himself and his passenger sustained injuries only, thankfully. So 250-1686, this was a vehicle into a tree at El Camino Real near the intersection of Carmelita. A driver was driving north on El Camino, passing Carmelita in the number 1 lane and made an abrupt lane change into the number 2 lane just north of the intersection with Carmelita, causing vehicle number 2 to quickly apply their brakes. The third vehicle was also driving north on El Camino Real, approaching that location and could not stop in time. Unfortunately, veered into a tree on the east side of El Camino Real, just north of Carmelita. There was an elderly couple in that vehicle. They were both transported, and approximately 2 weeks later, had learned that the male half in that vehicle sustained a fatal injury as a result. And so for collisions, if an injury occurs at a collision and then within a 30-day time frame, they succumb to that injury, it's classified as fatal. 250-1688 is a vehicle versus another vehicle at the intersection of El Camino Real and Ray Rosedale. I believe this was your standard failure to yield situation on El Camino, where a vehicle was traveling south on El Camino, attempting to turn left on the eastbound Rosedale. Did not see the second vehicle traveling north in the number 2 lane due to another vehicle trying to turn left onto westbound in front of them. So 2 opposing vehicles trying to turn left, believed the lane was clear, proceeded to turn east onto Rosedale and collided with the oncoming vehicle in the intersection. This resulted in minor injuries to the driver who was traveling north on El Camino. 250-1730, which is a vehicle versus another vehicle, El Camino and Howard. Driver was driving south on El Camino, approaching Howard. The other driver was also driving south, approaching Howard Avenue in front of the first vehicle. They were both in the number 1 lane. The vehicle in front slowed down at the intersection of Howard and El Camino for a vehicle in front of that person turning left. And unfortunately, the vehicle behind them did not slow down in time, causing a rear end and damage to both vehicles and a minor injury to the D2, as we call it. 1805 was our bicyclist involved collision. This occurred out on the 700 block of Airport Boulevard. This was a bicyclist versus a construction sign. The bicyclist was riding north in the 700 block of Airport in the bicycle lane. He was proceeding straight and struck a roadwork sign, which was in the middle of the bike lane, which caused him to fall. He had stated that he didn't see the sign because it was an afternoon collision and it was a particularly windy day. So at some point he had kind of looked down to avoid wind in the face and didn't see the sign and collided with it, resulting in minor injuries to the bicyclist. 1808 was a vehicle versus vehicle at the intersection of El Camino Real and Oxford. Driver was driving north on El Camino in the number 2 lane and came to a complete stop at the intersection, or just prior to the intersection with Oxford, Cambridge, Oxford. Another driver was driving his vehicle behind that vehicle, approaching the intersection with Oxford, and didn't react in time to the vehicle in front of them stopping, waiting for the red light, and rear-ended that vehicle. Those were the injury collisions for July.
Okay, questions on the, yep, Commissioner Angela, go ahead.
Thank you.
Sure.
Can I just ask a clarifying question? The fatal accident of Carmelita, car that struck the tree
Yes.
was the car that the gentleman passed away in, and that was the third car. That was the last car. Is that
Correct.
correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Other questions? Sergeant, the 1636, did you already talk about that one? Carolyn Cadillac.
by for 1 second.
No worries.
The driver was, the report hadn't been finished, I think, at the time I printed this out. So the narrative is incomplete. We have two vehicles. The driver was rear-ended while stopped at a stop sign. Yeah, this was a complete report. I apologize for the lack of details on this one. I think at the time of the teaspoon meeting last month, this hadn't been completed yet, so I didn't have details. But there was a rear end collision resulting in whiplash, didn't require. It was a late reported one as well to boot. So this occurred and they didn't call us at the time. And I think it's one of those situations where later, you know, I was like, I'm okay, you okay? Okay, I'm okay. And then they go on their way and then later experience pain, so they want to report it. And per our policy, if there's an injury, any complaint reported to us as a result of a collision, we document it in a report. So that's what occurred here. But I don't have further details as to.
Was the vehicle stopped at Cadillac, at the intersection of Cadillac and Carolyn? And then they were rear-ended there?
Yes, I believe.
Okay.
They have, base page, it does have both parties traveling west on.
Okay.
Or it says West Carolyn, but I believe it should be, can't go
West Cadillac, yeah,
again.
yeah, okay.
I didn't have a chance to get my hands on it and make corrections. So
Got it, okay, all right, very good.
rear end collision in the month of July, it seems.
Yeah. Okay, month of August.
Sure. For August, 15 total collisions to report. One of which we're not going to be discussing tonight, obviously, due to it being an open investigation. But hit and run collisions and collisions by DUI were also filtered out. There were 11 collisions with another motor vehicle, 3 collisions with a fixed object, 1 with the ped and 1 with the bike. Most common right-of-way violations, as you might expect, unsafe speed, failure to yield, turn, and we had a couple involving failure to stop at a red light. 1828, vehicle versus pedestrian failure. This was a failure to yield at El Camino Real. The driver was driving north on El Camino Real towards the way. Oh, I'm sorry. This was not a vehicle versus pedestrian. This is vehicle versus vehicle. Failure to yield. A driver was driving north on El Camino towards Broadway. Another driver was driving west onto El Camino Real from a driveway near 1124 El Camino Real and failed to yield when entering traffic, causing the collision to occur. The driver who exited the driveway had a complaint of pain, and that was the extent of their injuries. 1914, vehicle versus vehicle broadside, which is a failure to yield up on Skyline and Truesdale. There's a 4-way stop sign there. As you're going north on Skyline, you can get onto 280 north. As you're coming east, you can continue down towards Hunt. The driver was driving east on Truesdale towards Hunt Drive. Another driver was driving north on Skyline, attempting to get onto 280 north. The driver traveling north failed to yield at the stop sign intersection to the driver who was traveling east through the stop sign intersection, and the collision occurred. A complaint of pain to both parties was noted. 2018 was a vehicle versus vehicle rear end due to unsafe speed. Driver 1 was driving northbound on Carolyn. Driver 1 was driving behind the other driver north on Carolyn. Driver 2 came to a complete stop before the pedestrian crosswalk at Carolyn and Morel as the pedestrian crossing lights had been activated. The driver following behind that vehicle was following too closely at the time and was unable to apply the brakes, and a collision occurred rear end style. The driver who rear-ended the other party stated they were driving approximately 25 miles an hour at the time of the collision, and the driver who was rear-ended sustained whiplash from the impact, causing a minor injury. Case 2039 involved a vehicle into a residential garage, determined to be as a result of unsafe speed. This occurred on Valdivia. The driver was driving their vehicle north on Hayward Drive, approaching the T intersection with Valdivia, and proceeded straight through the T intersection at Valdivia and right into the residence there, at the top of the T intersection, through the garage and into a vehicle. The driver had stated that she believed the vehicle brakes were not working properly. Tried to apply the brakes, and that was their statement. As a result, the driver in that vehicle had a complaint of pain, abrasions, and dizziness, and minor injuries. In 2066, this was a vehicle versus another vehicle. This was a tractor trailer, kind of a big rig style, broadside on the Broadway overpass. Luckily, I'll preface it by saying resulted in minor injuries. Thankfully, could have been a lot worse. There was a driver driving his vehicle east on Broadway, going up the ramp, approaching the intersection with the US 101 southbound on ramp. They were in the number 3 mixed turn lane, intending to proceed straight. The driver of the tractor trailer was driving it westbound on Broadway, approaching that same intersection in the number 2 left turn lane. There are 2 left turn lanes there with 2 arrows indicating to proceed onto 101 South. As the driver driving east approached the intersection, the light was green, and so he entered and then was broadsided by the big rig. The big rig driver claims that he had initiated his entry into the intersection as the light turned from green to yellow, but witness statements indicated that that light had been green for eastbound traffic for at least a few seconds before that truck entered the intersection. So the primary collision factor was determined to be that the driver proceeded through a red light into the intersection when making that left turn. And it was a large tractor trailer, and the other driver was driving just a regular 4-door sedan, so it could have been a lot worse. He just had a complaint of pain to his chest. He's doing okay. 2086 was a vehicle versus a parked vehicle. This is California Drive, just south of Carmelita. The driver was stopped at a red traffic signal at the intersection with California Drive and Carmelita, proceeding south on California. When the light turned green, he proceeded through the intersection. He nodded off at the wheel, and the vehicle drifted to the right and collided with a parked vehicle on the west side of the roadway. And the collision caused the driver in his vehicle to roll over onto the roof and come to rest in the southbound lane of traffic. Only minor injury sustained as a result of this collision, maybe getting back to what we had spoken about prior to the meeting. Maybe didn't tense up before impact, or it could have been worse injuries. Perhaps that's an example of it, but only minor injuries in this one as well. Unsafe speed for conditions. If you're asleep, there's no speed that is safe for conditions. And 2108, vehicle versus vehicle. This was another, it was virtually identical to the one that I just spoke about on the Broadway overpass. Same location and same situation where a vehicle was proceeding east in the mixed-use lane with a green light, and a vehicle attempting to turn left onto southbound 101 claims that they entered on a yellow light and were just completing the process of their turn, and here's this vehicle going the opposite direction in the intersection. Witness statements, again, that the eastbound lane was green. And a witness statement saying that the vehicle who turned left entered against a yellow and then floored it. So that vehicle who turned left, after some subsequent investigation, was determined to be at fault for running through a red light. And that one also sustained in a complaint of pain and minor injuries.
All right. Thank you, Sergeant. Questions?
I just have one. What was the timing or time of day of the person who fell asleep behind the wheel or nodded off behind the wheel on Carmelita in California?
It was afternoon. It was late afternoon.
It's just interesting to me that people are falling asleep in the afternoon, and I have no idea how. I was just curious.
I've seen it at different times throughout the day, to be honest. Every once in a while, someone will fall asleep at the intersection of Carolyn Broadway or Broadway Cal, waiting for traffic, morning time, afternoon time, people working hard and making deliveries and working multiple jobs. And
Sure.
just being at a stoplight and the hum of the engine, and I pulled up next to multiple people that have been asleep. So
Hmm.
it does happen.
Okay.
Unfortunately for this individual, it happened after he proceeded.
Thank you.
Other questions? Yeah, Commissioner Roulette.
Question, I actually saw my accident that was turning, that was westbound, turning onto the southbound one. And was the first car that was lucky enough to turn down, Amplet, or I guess it's South Rollins, to avoid, and went down to the next on-ramp. But how long, my understanding was that that intersection, that on-ramp was blocked for a long time until the cars could be extracted or removed.
When the collision occurred, I mean, the big rig stopped and was in blocking the intersection. And so when we get on scene like that with a large vehicle versus a small vehicle, we, may presume the worst. And so we need to make sure that we need to check on both parties to make sure that they're intact and okay. So then once that process happens, we identify who the drivers are, make sure that they're conscious, breathing, and haven't sustained any apparent major injuries. Then we can work on clearing the road. Obviously, that's our next course of action. And so I think in that situation, we have the driver of the tractor trailer move it onto the on-ramp and then kind of do the best we can to clear the car out of the roadway. But I mean, and our parking enforcement officers are great. We task them when we get on scene with dealing with the traffic control and opening up lanes so we can just focus on the parties on scene. And I was on scene for this collision, and they opened the roadway up relatively quickly. Kind of morning commute time, so I'm sure it felt like longer, but probably no more than several minutes.
Oh,
But it wasn't like
I-
we were.
Reason I had heard that it had been closed for a time.
No.
Well, we're fortunate that people weren't hurt
Mhm.
in
Indeed.
both of those incidents.
Other question? Nope. Okay. Thank you very much, Sergeant. And we'll move on. Item 7E. Chair and Commissioner Communications. Anybody have communications with the public they want to bring forward? Nope. Mr. Wong, you saw the email from Mr. Gio Valesco?
We did.
Okay. I trust you'll respond.
We will, yes.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Mr. Sy will.
All right. All right, we will move on. Community report or committee reports. Any public comment on committee reports, Mr. Ting? Yeah, you.
No,
Okay,
or no comments.
all right, thank you. Yep. Sure. So that was section 5.
So if we want to make a public comment, I was going to make, because I thought maybe something about Vision Zero would be somehow discussed tonight, so I didn't bring it up when I made the initial public comment. So, and Mr. Ting nicely asked me which number to do, and I thought it would have probably come under 7 related to informational items. And so I'm wondering, because I've been in a lot of meetings, I'm wondering, how could I make a public comment until I'd heard the items? So I listened to the items and didn't say anything because I thought it was very important because they were informational. And initially, I came out tonight because of, Vision Zero, to have maybe more information. And I realized a lot of this was presented at the September 2nd city council meeting, and I couldn't go. And so I don't know whether it's appropriate for me to make any remarks or any comments
So it's not
about mission.
at this point, but what I would recommend,
Uh-huh.
Ms. Lang, is that you watch the recorded session from September 2nd from council. And it's explained very well, and the council asked a lot of good questions, and it'll clarify a lot of things about Vision Zero and where we're going next with it.
I spent the time today to look into, I think some of the Legislat-Star, to see what was discussed, and that's true. So,
Yeah.
I wasn't quite sure how you do your agenda here, you know, when, if this commission maybe talks more about, or if it goes to the city council. I'm familiar a little bit with Vision Zero because I've heard about it in other cities. So, you know, I don't have the, I had some questions about it, but I'm just wondering where I would address them because as you say,
Yeah.
oh, well, you know, laid out at the September 2nd meeting, which I couldn't go to.
Yeah, yeah, but you can watch the recorded session. And if you want, after the meeting, Mr. Wong can talk with you more about Vision Zero.
And there's also a recording, it was presented to commission at the August meeting. So there's actually
Oh,
two different places.
at
where you
this
could-
meeting?
Mhm.
Yeah, and
There's two different places you could go to.
I
watch.
appreciate this, and a lot of this is because I had conflicting times on when you're meeting, so.
Understood.
um,
Yeah,
bear with me, and I think that I'll maybe ask Mr. Wong a question after I
yeah,
in mind.
that's fine. Okay.
So
Thank,
this is an interesting agenda.
yeah, okay.
Do cover a lot of things that are very important, so.
Yep, very good. Thank you, Ms. Lang.
You,
Okay.
after to speak.
Yeah, we're almost done. Yep, yep. Appreciate it. Okay, committee reports. So 8B, Hillside Drive traffic calming, Commissioners Israelit and Johnson.
Oh, okay. Did you speak last time? I don't think there's any new updates from the committee.
Okay,
I think it's now we're, as Mr. Wong said, waiting for implementation.
okay,
So I think there's no new changes. We haven't gathered again. Once it got through approval here, I think we were in pretty good shape.
okay.
As I said,
Sure.
the chair, design for the crosswalk and beacon are being worked on. The other improvements up at Hillside Alvarado, we just looked, I was in our work orders we send to the Corp Yard. It hasn't been done yet, but as I've been informed, they're painting right now, doing all the painting that's on their queue, and then they'll switch over to signs. That was up at Hillside Alvarado. We were going to supersize the signs.
Yep.
And add a reflective red strip on the pole so that it'll be all red. So those are the improvements we're going to try up there. And then obviously the other ones are RFP, which we'll get to at some point.
And what about the speed sign that says, you know, your current speed and what the speed limit is that we were talked about?
I'll have to double check. Was that a permanent sign or we're going to rotate the PD sign?
Be the permanent, it was to be permanent because
Okay.
that was.
I think so. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, because we didn't want to have to, we thought it was important enough that we didn't want to have to rely on the rotation of a mobile unit that hasn't been there for a long time either. So we had felt that it was important to have something.
Okay. I'll double check that then.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anything else on Hillside Drive? No?
Just waiting for him to implement.
Okay. All right. El Camino Real renewal, Commissioner Brown, Commissioner Israelit.
I mean, really, I don't even know if we should leave this on here until we actually have some things to take action for, you know, so.
Well, we keep thinking,
yeah.
we're told that it's going to be starting in a couple months and we wanted to have it ready to, you know, come up with detours and planning, and then the project keeps getting delayed. So,
No, the goal is as we get closer, we will bring Caltrans and then we'll maybe show there is a detour plan already, you know, again, detour them at the ends of the city for regional traffic and have other folks try to make their way that they'll be impacted. If you live in between Millbrae and Peninsula, you may have to, you know, detour around some of the smaller streets, but we're trying to get most of the traffic off at the ends. But yeah, once we get closer, that was the whole goal. Bring Caltrans board, get everyone aware of what the project is and the potential impacts, but we're still not there yet. They're still not there yet. We've been ready to go.
So, commissioners, if it's more than 2 months out, would you be comfortable if we just disband this?
I would
No?
for at this point.
Okay, and if we know that it's going to be within 2 months, then you
And
can
then we can add it back.
regroup and start studying. Okay,
Just sit by our phones waiting for that call.
okay. All right, so Mr. Wong, we're going to take an action to remove the ECR renewal
Got it.
committee. And so I wanted to propose to the commission, there's a lot of talk now about Vision Zero. And Vision Zero has been to council, very good presentation. A lot of good feedback from council about Vision Zero. The next steps are to prioritize projects. And so I think, you know, I'm on that Citizens Advisory Committee for council, but we, as a commission, I think should have a committee that follows the actions there and how things are being prioritized and bring that information back to this commission. And so I would propose that this is a good time for us to initiate a Vision Zero committee that can follow up with the consultants and the Citizens Advisory Committee, and bring that information back to this commission for regular review. So,
Be like a liaison, more like a liaison between the Vision Zero folks and this commission,
yes,
opposed to like a.
yes, right. They're doing most of the studying. We're involved because they want our, feedback on all the issues that we're familiar with. And right now, I'm the only one on that CAC. So this is probably a good time for us to form a team of 2 to discuss things as they prioritize the projects. And, we can weigh in. And if we are in agreement, that's great. If we think things could be in a different order, a little better, then that's, good as well. So,
I think it's a great idea.
okay. So I'd like to form that committee, and I'm already part of the CAC. I know Commissioner Johnson asked to be a part of that. Does anybody else want to be a part of that? If so, then we can just vote, or I can decide.
I think, I think we have to vote to form, as a commission, to form the committee. And
Okay,
get to pick.
okay,
Chair gets to assign who is on it.
okay, good. All right. Well, then we should vote. Okay.
Procedural, yeah.
So,
That makes sense.
I move
yes,
that we start a new subcommittee called Vision Zero.
perfect. Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, and all in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Okay, so unanimous. So we will have that committee. All right, now, you put me on a spot here. I have to pick. Anybody else want to do it?
I think you should, I mean, you're on.
I'm on it
Yeah.
already. I have the history.
I will back out
Okay,
because I remember, when, I will back out and let others.
And I
throw
mean,
in.
we just removed a committee that I was on, so I will certainly, and I'd like to learn more about Vision Zero as well. So I would like to join the committee.
and we can't have a committee of 3, unfortunately.
I
Sure.
I would
Johnson?
be on it as well, but I'll leave it to your discretion, whatever.
My discretion.
Fine. And you don't have to decide now if you don't want to be put on the spot. Well, maybe, I don't know procedurally.
No, I
Yeah.
don't think you need to decide right now.
Okay, all right. I'll,
Well,
we should talk.
I-
You'll
Yeah,
ponder
we
it.
should
Well,
talk.
concur.
We should talk. Yeah, we'll talk. But I think this is a good time for us to establish this committee.
Agreed.
I'm glad.
Yep, yep.
yeah.
Okay. All right, very good. So that is the end of our committee reports, and we'll move on to future agenda items. I heard Old Bay Shore redevelopment. Anything else that we can look forward to next month, Mr. Wong?
Maybe South California, maybe South Rollin. Those might be upcoming, so I'll check. Mr. Yang's got quite a few of these in the hopper, so.
Okay. South California from the train station,
Oak Grove to the train station.
Oak Grove to the train station. Okay.
We need to do a little bit more on the other one.
Okay. Okay. Any other burning topics?
The other topic that will probably not come up in October, but will be AMP. Because we're still waiting for them to present to council.
Okay,
They're still working through those dates, so it'll either be late October or the first meeting in November. So it won't be on the agenda for Teaspoon because
Correct.
we've already been,
We want-
that we've already
Yep.
had the presentation. But yeah, so just that's in
Okay.
in the pipeline of meeting items.
got it. Got it. Okay.
Be an update once, as an engineer's update, once we get that.
Yeah, city threads.
Oh.
The AMP is the same thing as city threads.
Right, right,
Yeah.
right. Okay. All right, nothing else on future agenda items. Before we adjourn, I overlooked this last month and I apologize to everybody, including the family of Aiden Fang. And so I just wanted to take a moment of silence for Aiden Fang, his family, and everybody that was affected by the tragedy that happened on Donnelly. So if we could just have a moment of silence and then we'll adjourn. All right, commissioners, thank you very much. Meeting adjourned.
And
No.
for the library.
Oh, is that your master plan? Is it double-sided?
Did you give me one?
Mine and in color.
And
Mine's a lot
Oh.
thicker.
No, we're getting